Jose Miguel walked along the rural road as he had every morning for 15 years, since retiring from the textile factory. At 72 years old, that morning routine was his moment of peace, breathing the fresh country air and watching nature awaken. The dirt road wound between green hills, rarely visited by vehicles except for local residents. On that Tuesday morning, something different caught his attention on the horizon. A dark object contrasted with the familiar landscape, stopped in the middle of the road. Jose adjusted his glasses and quickened his pace, curious about this unexpected novelty. As he approached, the silhouette revealed itself to be a black sedan, apparently abandoned for a few hours. The vehicle was parked strangely, slightly tilted to the right, as if it had been left in a hurry. The doors were closed, but Jose noticed that the driver's and passengers' windows were open, allowing the morning breeze to circulate through. The interior. The car appeared to be in good condition, with no obvious signs of damage or accidents. Intrigued, the elderly man approached cautiously, his instincts sharpened by the strangeness of the situation. Something wasn't right there. Jose walked around the vehicle, examining every detail with the meticulous attention of someone who had lived long and learned to trust his own instincts. The wheels were intact, there were no brake marks on the ground, and the engine apparently showed no visible problems. The fuel tank seemed full, as there was no smell of gasoline in the air. The car's license plate was from a neighboring state, suggesting that the owner had traveled a considerable distance. Jose frowned, trying to understand why someone would simply abandon a vehicle in perfect condition. The answer, he felt, was close. It was then that something white fluttering on the rearview mirror caught his attention. A small piece of paper was carefully folded and attached to the mirror, swaying gently with the wind. Jose hesitated for a moment, questioning whether he should touch something that clearly didn't belong to him. His conscience, however, weighed more than curiosity. What if it were a call for help? What if someone was in danger? With slightly trembling hands, he approached the open driver's window. The paper seemed to have been placed there recently, as it was clean and showed no signs of moisture or wear. Jose reached his hand through the open window and carefully removed the note from the rearview mirror. His hands, marked by years of hard work, trembled slightly as he unfolded the paper. The handwriting was feminine, delicate but hurried, as if it had been written under pressure or in a state of urgency. The words were in Portuguese, written with a blue pen, and the ink still seemed fresh. Jose adjusted his glasses again, preparing to read the content that would completely change the course of his peaceful morning. His heart beat faster, anticipating something that his life experience told him would be significant. If you are reading this, it means I managed to leave the car here in time. My name is Marina Santos. I am 34 years old. I am being pursued by dangerous men who want to harm me. I cannot go to the police because they have connections inside. If something happens to me, please deliver this letter to the local newspaper or any federal authority. There is evidence in the glove compartment that can incriminate powerful people in the city. Please don't abandon me. I am hiding in the old chapel of the municipal cemetery. If you can help me, I will be there until noon today. Otherwise, I will try to escape on my own. Thank you for reading this. Clara. Jose read the note 3 times, each word penetrating his consciousness like a stab. The elderly man's hands now trembled uncontrollably, not just from age, but from the shock of what he had just discovered. This wasn't a joke or a mistake. The hurried handwriting, the palpable desperation in the words, everything indicated a genuine situation of danger. Jose looked around the deserted road, as if expecting to see Clara's pursuers, emerging from nowhere. The morning silence, which had previously brought him peace, now seemed threatening. Every shadow, every movement in the vegetation, everything acquired a new, sinister meaning. He kept the note in his shirt pocket, feeling the weight of the responsibility he had just assumed. Without wasting time, Jose went to the car's glove compartment, his still trembling hands trying to open the compartment. Inside, he found a sealed manila envelope, some loose documents, and a small digital camera. The documents were photocopies of contracts, bank receipts, and correspondence that, even without being an expert, Jose perceived to be highly compromising. Known names from local politics appeared signing suspicious documents, exorbitant amounts were transferred to offshore accounts, and dates coincided with recent public events that had generated controversy. Jose immediately understood why Clara was in danger. She had discovered something that powerful people wanted to keep secret. Jose's wristwatch showed 9:30 in the morning. If Clara was telling the truth, he had only 2.5 hours to find her at the municipal cemetery chapel. The cemetery was about 3 kilometers away, a walk that would take almost 40 minutes at his usual pace. Jose put all the documents back in the glove compartment, making sure not to leave traces of his presence. He knew he was getting involved in something much bigger than himself, but his conscience wouldn't allow him to ignore a desperate woman's call for help. At 72, he discovered there were still heroes sleeping in his chest. Before leaving, Jose made a decision that could save both Clara's life and his own. He took his old cell phone from his pocket and called his grandson, Pedro, a 28-year-old lawyer who worked in the capital. Pedro had always been the most responsible in the family, and Jose completely trusted his judgment. "Pedro, I need you urgently," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Come to town today and bring someone from the federal police if possible. I found something very serious and a person may be in mortal danger." Pedro, accustomed to his grandfather's serene personality, immediately understood the gravity of the situation. "I'm already leaving, Grandpa. Don't do anything dangerous until I arrive." Jose began his walk toward the municipal cemetery, each step loaded with determination and anxiety. The sun was stronger now, and sweat began to form small drops on his forehead, mixing with the worry that gnawed at his stomach. During the journey, he couldn't stop thinking about Clara. Was she really an innocent victim, or was he being deceived by a clever criminal? His life experience, however, told him that the desperation in the note was genuine. People in real panic write in a specific way, with an urgency that cannot be easily faked. Jose quickened his pace, knowing that every minute could be crucial. Church in the city center. Jose knew it was the perfect hideout, isolated, rarely visited, and with several escape routes through the surrounding woods. If Clara was really there, she had chosen intelligently. He wondered how she knew that place so well. The municipal cemetery was a place Jose knew well, as he had buried many friends there over the years. Located on a wooded hill on the outskirts of town, the place was surrounded by old walls covered with ivy. The chapel mentioned in the note was a stone construction from the last century, abandoned for decades after the construction of a new. As he approached the cemetery entrance, Jose adopted a more cautious posture, moving between the trees and avoiding walking directly on the main trail. His survival instincts, dormant for years of peaceful life, awakened completely. Every sound, the birds singing, the whisper of wind in the leaves, the very noise of his footsteps, seemed amplified. Jose stopped several times to listen, making sure he wasn't being followed or watched. The paranoia he felt was justified. If Clara was right about the corruption she had discovered, powerful people would be willing to do anything to silence her. Answered, and Jose began to fear he had arrived too late. Then, a subtle movement behind one of the columns caught his attention. A female figure slowly emerged from the shadows, and Jose finally saw the face of the woman whose call for help had changed his morning forever. The chapel appeared among the trees like a shadow from the past, its stone walls covered with moss and its small bell tower partially collapsed. Jose approached silently, observing each broken window and each dark corner where someone could be hiding. "Clara?" he whispered, his voice echoing softly in the morning air. For a moment, only silence. Marina Santos was exactly as Jose had imagined. A young woman with brown hair, large frightened eyes, wrinkled clothes that suggested a sleepless night. She moved carefully, clearly exhausted, but still alert. "Did you read my note?" she asked, her voice trembling, mixing hope and fear. Jose nodded, taking the paper from his pocket and showing it to her. "I found your car on the road. I came as soon as I could, and I've already called for help. My grandson is a lawyer and is bringing people from the federal police." Clara's eyes filled with tears, of relief exhaustion, and perhaps for the first time in days, a small spark of hope that she might come out of this situation alive. Diverted to private accounts. When I realized what I had discovered, I photographed everything and kept a copy at home. The next day, strange men appeared at my house asking for me. My neighbors said they looked like police officers, but something was wrong. I escaped through the back window and have been hiding ever since. Clara broke down in tears, all the days of terror and flight finally taking their emotional toll. I work as a secretary at City Hall for 5 years, she began, her voice interrupted by sobs. Last week, the mayor asked me to organize some files in his private office. That's when I found those documents. Overpriced contracts, bribes, public money. Jose listened to Clara's story with growing indignation and compassion. This young woman had stumbled upon something much bigger than herself, and now her life was at risk for doing the right thing. You did the right thing trying to expose the corruption, he said, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. But now we need to make sure you stay alive to testify. My grandson Pedro is an honest lawyer, and he knows people in the federal police we can trust. Clara nodded, wiping away her tears. I just wanted to do my job right. I never thought I would discover something like this. Now I'm afraid I can never have a normal life again. Appeared accompanied by 2 federal agents, their faces serious but professional. Jose came out of the chapel making gestures to indicate that everything was okay, and Clara followed him cautiously, still nervous but hopeful that her nightmare would finally come to an end. The sound of approaching cars made both of them stiffen. Jose signaled for Clara to hide again while he peered through one of the chapel's broken windows. To his relief, he recognized Pedro's car parking at the cemetery entrance, followed by an official federal police vehicle. It's my grandson, he whispered to Clara. We can trust them. Pedro. The federal agents listened to Clara's account with professional attention, asking precise questions about dates, names, and locations of the documents. Pedro organized the entire situation legally, ensuring that Clara was placed under immediate protection while investigations proceeded. The documents you photographed are crucial evidence, explained one of the agents. With your testimony and this proof, we can build a solid case against the entire corruption network. Clara finally began to relax, realizing there were people willing to protect her and seek justice. Jose watched everything with satisfaction, knowing that his decision to help had been correct. 3 months later, Jose read in the local newspaper about the arrest of the mayor and several other politicians involved in the corruption scheme that Clara had discovered. She was safe in a witness protection program, and her courageous testimony had resulted in the largest anti-corruption operation in the city's history. Pedro visited his grandfather regularly, always commenting on how proud he was of the older man's courage and decency. Jose smiled, knowing that Tuesday morning had changed many lives, including his own. At 72, he had discovered that it's never too late to be a hero, and that sometimes the most casual encounters can have the most extraordinary consequences. His morning walk would never be the same. Now, it carried with it the satisfaction of having made a difference when it really mattered.